The brilliant mind of Dr. Alstar Finch. Dr. Alstar Finch was a man of exceptional intelligence and arrogance. His mind, a labyrinth of complex equations and groundbreaking theories, had given birth to inventions that bordered on the impossible. His latest endeavor, the Decron, promised to be his magnum opus, a machine capable of reversing the effects of time. Alstar, however, wasn't driven by altruism. He craved the attention, the accolades, and the adoration that came with cheating nature itself. He also craved the attention of women, and he saw his youthful vigor as a tool to attract them. Alstar's lab was his sanctuary, a place where the impossible became possible. It was here, surrounded by bubbling beakers and sparking electrodes, that he felt most alive, most powerful. He believed that the Decron would be the key to unlocking eternal youth, not just for himself, but for the entire world. And he, Dr. Alstar Finch, would be remembered as the man who had conquered time itself. A malfunction and a transformation. The day of the first human trial arrived. Alstar, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, strapped himself into the Decron. He flipped the switch, and the machine whirred to life. The air crackled with energy, and a blinding light filled the room. Then everything went black. When Alstar regained consciousness, he felt different. He tried to sit up, but his limbs felt heavy, uncoordinated. He looked down at his body and his blood ran cold. He was a toddler. His once strong arms were now chubby and small. His legs, once long and powerful, were now barely able to hold him up. Panic surged through him. His adult mind was trapped inside the body of a 2-year-old. He tried to speak, but all that came out was a garbled mess of incoherent babbles. His worst nightmare had come true. He had become a scientific guinea pig in his own experiment gone horribly wrong.
Oh my gosh, look at him!
Is this for real?
This is just too funny.
Look at those chubby cheeks.
Poor little guy.
His assistants, a team of beautiful women he had always secretly lusted after, rushed to his side. But instead of the concern he expected, they burst into fits of laughter. They cooed and giggled at his attempts to communicate, finding his predicament utterly hilarious. Their amusement stung more than any scientific failure ever could. His once sharp mind felt clouded, his thoughts fragmented and fleeting. He tried to explain, to demand they reverse the process, but his words were lost in a sea of drool and baby talk. He was at their mercy, a prisoner in a prison of his own making.
Who's a cute little scientist?
You want your binky, Dr. Finch?
Maybe we should call him Baby Alstar now.
He's just so adorable.
I could just pinch those cheeks all day.
His every attempt to assert himself, to reclaim his former glory, was met with patronizing pats on the head and condescending baby talk. Alstar Finch, the genius, the innovator, was now little more than an object of amusement, a plaything for the very women he once desired. His assistants, initially amused by his predicament, soon grew tired of his constant whining and demands.
We need to teach him a lesson, give him a taste of his own medicine.
Yes, let's treat him exactly like any other toddler, with playful mockery and firm discipline.
Diaper changes became a public spectacle, his humiliation amplified by their feigned disgust and exaggerated gagging.
Oh, the smell. How can something so small be so potent?
Feeding time was no better.
Here comes the airplane. Oops, just out of reach.
They would hold his bottle just out of reach, making him jump and squeal like a trained animal.
And now for the special kind of torture, the breastfeeding.
It was a constant reminder of his helplessness and their absolute control. His nights were spent confined to a playpen, his cries for freedom ignored.
Sleep tight, little Alstar. You're not going anywhere.
He was a prisoner in the very lab that had once been his kingdom, his every attempt to escape thwarted by his own physical limitations. Years turned into decades, but Alstar barely aged. His toddler-like appearance remained unchanged, a cruel reminder of his failed experiment.
Look at him. Still the same after all these years.
His attention span, already shortened by his condition, dwindled further. He became easily distracted, his thoughts flitting from one thing to another like butterflies in a summer breeze.
Alstar, focus. Oh, never mind.
His assistants, their beauty untouched by time, continued to lord over him.
How about we dress him in this sailor suit today?
They dressed him in ridiculous outfits, made him play childish games, and delighted in his every frustrated outburst.
Oh look, he's throwing a tantrum again, so adorable.
He became a permanent fixture in their lives, a living, breathing testament to their power over him. The outside world became a distant memory, a place he could only visit through books and television.
Imagine what he must be thinking, watching other men live the lives he can only dream of.
He watched with envy as other men his own age, achieved success, found love, and lived full, meaningful lives. His own existence felt small, insignificant, and utterly humiliating. Alstar Finch, the once great scientist, was now nothing more than a shell of his former self. His days were filled with naps, snacks, and endless rounds of peekaboo. He had become a prisoner of his own creation, trapped in an endless cycle of infantile dependency. The once brilliant mind that had dared to cheat time was now dulled by the monotony of his existence. He longed for intellectual stimulation, for the thrill of scientific discovery, but his thoughts always seemed to drift back to juice, cookies, and the mortifying prospect of his next diaper change. The ultimate irony was not lost on him. He had sought to conquer time, to unlock the secrets of eternal youth, and in a way he had succeeded, but at what cost? He was forever young, yes, but forever trapped in a child's body, forever at the mercy of the women he had once underestimated. He was living proof that some lines were not meant to be crossed, that some mysteries were best left unsolved. For Alstar Finch, the pursuit of eternal youth had led him not to glory, but to a lifetime of humiliation, a never-ending time out from which there was no escape.